Thanks. Thanks, Sean.
Anything for you, Mrs. B? Listen, for what it's worth, it might not be worth much, but he was a good man, Johnny.
He was, yeah. Thanks.
He was a great boss. In both trades, liquor and knicker. Always polite and he had a wonderful whiff about him. Pack a Rabanne?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
On the road.
Yes,
anyway, hello and welcome to episode 178 of the Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast. I was very disappointed that when Sean mentioned his network of useless contacts to Nina, he wasn't talking about homeless Carol. He was talking about homeless Dudley. I'm Gavin.
And I am so ashamed that I mistook Richard Marx for Bryan Adams this week.
You should.
My 12-year-old self wants to disown me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Your 12-year-old daughter wants to disown you as well, for different reasons.
He does
I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that means. It just seems like a natural place to go.
I bought her a $50 antique top hat. She does not want to disown me.
Does she need that?
Yes.
I'm confused. We were speaking about this when we were doing our SpongeBob SquareCast Patreon episode this week about who she's going to be at Halloween, and I thought she was going to be Slash.
Yeah, she decided once she got the top hat and, it was basically put together that she wanted to be the Onceler instead.
I don't know what that is.
The Onceler from the movie The Lorax.
And I still don't know what that is.
Based upon the Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax, who speaks for the trees.
Oh, like Dogmatics and Asterix. The only Lorax reference I have is when we were moving here from Connecticut and we spent the night in the middle of Pennsylvania, and then the next morning when we were on the road again, I got a call from the hotel back in Pennsylvania when we were in Ohio to tell me that we'd left something. And she says, I think it's from the Lorax. And I'm like, well, send it on to us because I ain't turning back.
What was it?
I think it was a cuddly toy.
Oh, I think it was a Sneetch.
Was it a Sneetch?
Yeah, I don't think we ever had a Lorax.
I don't know. We don't have that either anyway. And that was like 10 years ago. So. But it all came flooding back to me. I don't think I've ever said that to anyone.
Yeah, Gen Zers seem to really love that movie, which wasn't great, and came out before most of them were born. But, she gets to wear a green coat. She said yesterday, because she basically wore her costume yesterday as well, she got mistaken for a leprechaun.
This is also very emotional.
And Willy Wonka.
Oh.
So, who does not wear a green coat? He wears a purple coat.
She rocks a hat, I have to say.
She does rock a hat.
She's got my fedora.
She does. And my...
It suits her a lot better than it ever suited me.
And my yellow Barbara Streisand hat. Which she wore...
Which looks like a poof.
Which she wore to...
Not that kind of poof.
To her band concert. And I think we shared a picture of that on our Twitter.
I don't know how, because you couldn't see her.
Well, because I got her to pose afterwards with her trombone.
That makes much
affectionately
more sense.
known as LeBron James.
Yeah. That's... I'm choosing to find this quirky. Whatever. Yeah. So how are you feeling this week?
Well, I have pneumonia.
You do?
And strep throat.
Yep.
Both.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
No COVID still?
Still no COVID. They called me with results yesterday, but I was sleeping, so I didn't answer the phone. And when I called back, they didn't call me back. But considering they didn't call me back and I haven't gotten anything from the county medical commissioners, I'm assuming I don't have COVID.
Excellent news.
Yes.
So this is exactly what you want to be doing on a Saturday morning then.
Right.
Speaking about things.
Well, I finally took my eldest son's advice and rested because he's been yelling at me for, ever since I've had strep, which was August.
Right.
What are you doing up and doing stuff? You should be in bed resting. And I kept saying, I can't rest. I'm I'm a mom. There are things in this house that need to get done, and I'm the only one who seems to be able to do them. Mm-hmm. So I took Thursday because I also now have pneumonia. I was like, well, I guess I can take a few days off. So I took Thursday and Friday off of work and just kind of rested in bed. Read 3 books. Slept a lot. Did get up and move about a little bit. So I'm on lots and lots of medications. You know, and I am able to walk about the house a little bit. So I'm not on death's door.
No, you are up to your tits and drugs, though. So this could be interesting.
It could be. We'll see. It could go either way.
Well, let's see how Corrie News goes, shall we?
Yes.
And shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that.
Pneumatic?
Yeah, I was going for pneumatic, I think.
Yeah.
Pneumatic Corrie News.
What I do for my art.
Yeah, this is art.
You don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I thought you were talking about this.
Well, I am, but you don't know what I'm talking about. So
That helps.
there is nothing like a dame.
Oh, okay. No, I see.
Maureen Lipman officially received her damehood this week from Prince Charles, wearing a fascinator she borrowed from the show.
See, I thought that she was a dame already.
It was announced last year that she was going to become a dame, but the ceremony was postponed by the pandemic. So she didn't get her official damehood. She didn't get like the big ribbon thing pinned to her chest by a prince.
Right. Because you can't make your own big ribbon thing.
No.
It has to be delivered by a prince.
Yes.
Or a queen.
Yes.
Maybe a king.
This is how fairy tales go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Good for her.
Her coat and her shoes were her own, though. Apparently, the show sent her like 7 different hats and fascinators, and she had like a little fashion show with her friends and everything.
Fancy.
Which is just adorable because, you know, I remember doing that with my friends.
Maureen Lipman, Project Runway.
I know. Lovely.
That might just work.
Maureen Lipman, next top model. Future Academy Award-winning actor Jude Reardon is due to scoop up another award on his way to the top.
Yep.
Gaining a nomination for the Pride of St. Helens Awards Imperial Bar and Terrace Arts Award. Fun fact, Jude also appears in Brossick with another former standout Corrie child actor and my favorite vampire, Joe Gilgan.
Oh.
So
It is a small world after all.
it really is.
Now, Chloe from Nova Scotia, off this parish, who I will mention probably in about 5 minutes, she posted something on Twitter saying that she saw the kids of Coronation Street on the YouTube recently. Mm-hmm. And this is, I think, from 2005, 2000-ish, 2005-ish. When Chesney had just joined the show as a tiny wee
Boy.
10-year-old ginger boy. Mm-hmm. And the praise that Chesney was getting is very reminiscent to the praise that Sam's getting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so there are these kind of cycles of Corrie being good at picking great kids to come and I said this on Twitter myself, that
You did.
I'm almost now completely wary of saying how good a child actor he is. He's just a good actor.
Right.
Saying child seems to demean it a little bit.
It's like saying actress.
A little bit.
Yeah.
It's a qualifier that is unnecessary, I think.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I keep meaning to watch Brossick. I think it's on the Hulu.
So do I. I think it is. We should do that.
Yeah.
Right now.
Finally, we have another soap jump to announce, as former Emmerdale actor Gemma Oten will be joining the cast of Corrie. She was also appeared in Doctor Who, Doctors, and Casualty. I do not believe she is playing a doctor on Corrie, though.
Interesting.
And that's Corrie News.
That is Corrie News. Our mailbag. We have a bulging mailbag.
Ooh.
It's not just the way I'm sitting. Our friend John got in touch to say, well done for managing to make some sort of sense out of what I witnessed in Coronation Street. So much of it was just pure nonsense, and I wonder if Leanne crashed into the same skip that David crashed into a few years ago, and he sent a picture, and it does look very similar.
It does look very similar.
The aforementioned Chloe from Nova Scotia says, Coronation Street has been so good this year. Let's all try to remember that. Coronation Street has been so good this year. Then Canadian Helen got in touch. She says, loved the podcast this week. Thank you for explaining everything so well. My thoughts exactly about the floating gun. If it floated so much, why would the baddies on Coronation Street throw them in the canal?
Right.
Oh, very good point. I have a duck that I want to get rid of. Let's throw it in a canal.
Yeah.
Right. And then why
I've watched so many of those magnet fishing videos on YouTube with Benny to know that guns do not float.
And why couldn't they make IDV Corrie's bag float all those months ago if this was the case? I think first time commentator Maureen wrote in to say, sorry, but I loved Coronation Street. It was exciting, it was tense, and I was in tears when Johnny died. It had everything. Maybe your expectations were too high. Not everything has to make perfect sense.
That is true. That is true. And we are not here. We are never here to yuck someone else's yum. So if you got enjoyment from it, then bravo to you.
I think we addressed that last week. It was something that was dividing people. There were people who loved it, and there were people who, not so much.
Yeah.
And now, we'll podcast for coffee. Thanks to Fiona for...
I was going to say, or in my case this week, mint tea.
Sure. We'll podcast for mint tea. That just sounds a little bit too elitist.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time I'd been called that.
Thanks to Fiona for buying us our coffees this week. I discovered your pod this week, she says, and binged all the recent Corrie weeks that I couldn't bear to actually watch. Kudos to you for making it far more interesting than it would have been anyway. So thank you for that, Fiona. Thank you for your donation. That donation will be heading at the end of the month, so just in a couple of days, to BCRF, Breast Cancer Research Fund. For the month of October, we're donating all our coffees to breast cancer research. So you still have a couple of days if you want to be part of that. We're over $100 now, which I'm really happy about. It'd be great if we could make it to $200, but I'm not going to be putting any pressure on anybody. These are difficult times. But if you have any spare cash and you think this is worth something, buy us a coffee and we'll send it to breast cancer research.
Any thoughts to what we'll do in November?
I think we'll buy our own coffees in November. We haven't bought our own coffee in like 2 months.
No, it's true.
The well is dry. My throat is parched. And now, this.
Welcome.
Welcome to Last Year Tonight with me, John Oliver. Just enough time to quickly talk about a fabulous pair of undercrackers.
Was that really what it was called?
Yep.
Somebody else besides you says undercrackers?
Yep.
That makes no sense.
And it wasn't Kirk.
It wasn't Kirk? What? This had something to do with the factory, though, obviously, and the Knicker people.
And it did have something to do with one of the Knicker people, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your guess. That's right. This was Sean listing the things that he could do for Dylan other than play football.
Oh.
We could go shopping, we could do blah, blah, blah. I could fashion you a fabulous pair of undercrackers. I was Gavin and you were so happy to see me, Miss Moneypenny.
Yes.
Because Sean Connery had just died.
Yes.
And we chose to tribute him by taking the piss out of his voice.
Yes.
I mistook your Sean Connery impression for your Jimmy Stewart.
Which is very different.
Yeah. And this was the episode where this happened. In the bistro, the poker game is between Ray Weinstein and a guy who looks kind of like Johnny Vegas. The stakes are high. I raise you $2,000. I raise you back $3,000. Ray calls and his three aces
and
beat...
throw the tart in with it. And it's like, Faye's not that kind of...
Ray calls and his three aces beat Johnny Vegas' two-pair, queens over jacks. Then Scott, wearing a mask from The Purge and sounding very much like Scott from the B&B, bursts in. Everyone stay cool, this is a robbery. Any of you fucking pricks move and I'm going to execute every motherfucking last one of you. I think that was the most fun I've ever had doing this podcast.
Well, yeah, that's what stood for Super Soap Week last year.
Right.
Scott in a mask from The Purge.
We pondered on getting Snoop Dogg to voice Timbot 4000 for us, seeing as $3.5 million will get him to say whatever you want. Our heating was broken. It was chilly in here last year.
Was it?
Yeah. Our Borat impression needed work. My wife.
We did a lot of impressions, didn't we?
Yeah, Corrie must have been absolutely fascinating that week. Scott regales Johnny with tales of what they call a quarter pounder with cheese in Kent, while plans for one of the stupidest and most pointless capers ever to grace the cobbles gains momentum. Evelyn accidentally discovers why Arthur has been making excuses to avoid her since the day they met up again, and it has nothing to do with worming tablets. Wendy the Guardian interviews Nick and Gail, who have different opinions on Oliver's level of consciousness, while Leanne is confident that a twitch from a slammed door proves that our little boy can hear everything. Tim's dad has a nylon shirt and he isn't afraid to use it. Dylan is good at football because everyone says so. Abby is becoming suspicious of Deb and her laptop's continued presence in Weatherfield. Craig gets shot to impress Faye. Roy plays musics. And Ryan is called a genius, and it probably wasn't sarcasm. Our moment of the week was Evelyn and Roy playing Scrabble, and our boring moment of the week was Ray Weinstein bantering with Johnny Vegas at the poker table. And that was Coronation Street and the talk of the street this time last year.
Yeah, the show posted a thing this week about name a more epic pairing than Abby and Roy.
We'll wait.
We'll wait. And it's like Roy and Evelyn, Roy and Nina, Roy and Carla.
Yeah.
That's three
There's
off the
list.
top of my head.
There's a list. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline this morning is No More Chili Con Carne for You.
With or without rice.
Right. On Monday, Jenny's back on the street with Daisy, arm in a sling, as residents and extras alike gather around a
Because
makeshift
that's
memorial
what
for
you do
Johnny.
when your shoulder's broken. You put your arm in a sling.
Is it definitely a broken shoulder?
Still, there's no cast.
Oh.
There's no brace. My brother fell 3 stories out of a tree this past summer.
Yeah, if you see
And
him, he'll
broke his-
tell you about it.
It broke his shoulder and his arm. Tell you what, they didn't just throw his arm in a sling.
No, but he had a double compound fracture, as he's apt to tell people. So, yeah, everyone gathers round a makeshift memorial for Johnny, all of them sampling from a communal bowl of chili con carne without rice. Carla lays her flowers at the entrance to Underworld, where Johnny may or may not have been a consultant. In the Rovers, Jenny can't sleep and blames herself for Johnny's death. So today, let's celebrate his life with a party in his honour. He died a hero.
Did he?
No,
Thank you.
Daisy isn't sure it's a great idea or that he died a hero. David and Sean have spent the night in the hotel and are looking to move back into number 8. Sarah's there and doesn't think they'll be allowed back, but David will be fucked if he's moving out of his home again because of Ray Weinstein and that stupid sinkhole. Cal and Peter in Roy's roles. She's got to go to identify the body as Jenny can't face it. What a horrible way to go, drowning on his own in a Victorian drain on Super Soap Week. Roy pipes up that Johnny died a hero, which doesn't help. They really try to push this Johnny died a hero malarkey.
Right.
Well,
Thanks, Shona.
he died, I guess, a considerate man.
He died a victim of toxic masculinity.
Yes.
If he and Leo
Which I
hadn't,
think is what I meant.
if he and Leo hadn't gotten in a dick waving contest at the top of the hole,
But not like that.
none of this would have ever happened.
Let's not do a million whole gags this week again. Oh no, actually, let's do it.
This is not a gag. This is the truth, okay? Because it was just the stupidest thing in the world for a 70-ish-year-old man with MS.
I think he's in his 60s.
A 60-ish-year-old man with MS to climb down into a hole where he doesn't know where Jenny is. He doesn't know how he's going to get her out. And he's just going to make things worse, which he does.
Well,
It was a dick waving contest because he had to prove that he was just as virile as Leo, and it didn't work out for him.
no, it didn't. But that passes for heroism.
Toxic masculinity tends to pass for heroism an awful lot in this world, and I think it's time we stop it. I'm placing my flag right in this hole.
But not like that. Later, Jenny has had a meeting with the Weather Gazette. Johnny is a local hero, Saint Johnny. Jenny's slowly getting hammered as Daisy tries to mother her, and sinkhole Leo comes in, but Jenny tells him to GTF.
And
this is not a good time.
She hilariously says to the reporter, "Now, I know how you lot are. Just the good stuff. I don't want you talking about the fact that he went to prison." And the reporter's like, "Oh, he went to prison?" It's like, Jenny, shut up.
Yeah. Back from the viewing, Carla didn't think it looked like Johnny, but I don't think she means that it wasn't Johnny.
Right.
Peter confirms that it was indeed Johnny. She wants to give him a dignified funeral as opposed to an undignified funeral, and then she gets a text and rushes off.
Yeah, I think... I mean, he drowned. So, yeah, that body was probably very horrible to look at. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I sympathize with Carla in
But
this.
probably recovered fairly quickly. Or why didn't he float away?
Well, he probably did float away.
Landed on Harvey at the exit to the sewer. Oof. And number 8, David and Shona are talking to sinkhole Leo. Leo points out that the sinkhole was left for so long it caused subsidence that fell into the hole and blocked the drains. Shona says what David doesn't want to hear. If they'd fixed the sinkhole, none of this would have happened. Keep that to yourself, though, says David.
They had it covered up, though, so what fell in? And
the sides of the hole.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, because it did look significantly bigger than it did initially.
Yeah, well, I think you want probably more wood than is necessary, just to be on the safe side.
That's true. Still, it shouldn't be the homeowner's responsibility to fix something that's happening in the earth.
We keep on saying this, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we say it, and yet we haven't researched it.
Not one little bit.
But I mean, like when we have a gas leak, we're not responsible for fixing it, for paying for the repairs. The city does.
Apparently,
our taxes take care of it.
I was going to say something that was terribly boring, and I've managed to stop myself. So you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Jenny is drunk now, forcing Ryan and Kirk to dance to Sweet Caroline when Carla comes in to put a stop to it.
Dance, bitches, dance.
Right. Kirk was really going for it, doing his robotic dance.
Yeah.
And Ryan was quite funny when he realised that somebody else was watching them because there's no one else in the pub, and he kind of puts his hands through his hair and tries to ignore it. Daisy agrees, and Jenny tells her that she always hated Johnny. She's a fucking cow, and now get the fuck out of my pub.
And my house and my life.
So Daisy goes round to Daniel's. She doesn't want to talk about it and then talks about it. Mm-hmm. Daniel blames grief and offers up his couch if Daisy needs a place to crash for the night. He also has a sex cardigan somewhere in all this mess, if anyone's interested.
And there'll be a few droplets of that perfume in the bottle.
We can eke it out a little bit.
That was hilarious though, because he says, "Well, I'll sort out the couch," and Daisy says, "Oh, you don't have to give up your bed for me. I'll sleep on the couch." And Daniel says,
"Okay,
sure. That's what I meant."
Oh no, I thought he meant that he was going to sleep on the couch. So Carla decides to tell Jenny that Johnny was peaceful. No more pain. Jenny apologises. She still feels like she let him down and pushed him away. Carla laughs. Johnny wasn't easy to live with sometimes. Jenny did her best. Then Sarah and David have been called to the bistro by Debbie. She wants to talk about whose fault the sinkhole was. That Ray Weinstein. David quickly agrees, and Debbie offers to put David and family up in the hotel for as long as it takes to fix.
Yeah, and a couple of free beers and some burgers.
Yep.
And this is just... Why do they make David so stupid?
I don't think they're making him stupid. They're making him very self-centered, though.
Well,
and selfish.
And also stupid, because it's obvious what Debbie is doing here. She doesn't want any blame of that sinkhole. She doesn't want anybody finding out that it was Ray Weinstein who did the sinkhole.
Right. Or the mole man.
Right. Because she was involved with all of that. And some of that could have come, and some of that could come crashing in on her. So the way that she's talking about it, like, yeah, it was him, but you know how people like Ray Weinstein is, they always get away with it. They'll never peg it on him. So I'll give you a few free rooms for as long as it takes so that you won't talk about the fact that it was Ray Weinstein who did this.
Ah, right.
Yeah. It's just...
Oh, that's very sleek from our Debbie, isn't it? Very
absolutely. Yeah.
So later, alone in the Rovers, Jenny breaks down when she realises that Johnny isn't going to make her laugh again, and she still doesn't know who eats chili con carne without rice.
Well, she listens to Richard Marx and not Brian Adams.
Then in comes Leo, sent by a worried Daisy. And Leo and Jenny are through the back of the Rovers as she sobers up. He's going to keep her company. She tells him that he should run a mile. All she does is hurt people. He tells her not to blame herself and give herself some time.
He appears to have a very lovely cuff tattoo.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of it.
You settle down.
It's just a tattoo.
On Wednesday, Carla comes into Roy's Rolls and speaks with Sarah, who offers her assistance on anything. Carla correctly credits Shona with saving Jenny's life.
Thank you, somebody.
Right, if it's taken to Wednesday.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, she's doing it when Shona's not there to say thank you.
Such a shame that nothing could be done for Johnny. It's just not fair. Sarah is apologetic. It's not your fault, says Carla, quizzically. So Sarah's back at number 8, tiptoeing through the kitchen like the floor is going to collapse. That was hilarious. Mm-hmm. David thinks it's funny until Sarah points out how devastated Carla is. David reminds her to keep her trap shut. So Sarah has now been on the phone to the sinkhole company, and the price has now skyrocketed, much more than Audrey could cover. Plus, they've reminded everyone that it should have been fixed sooner. Daniel, who'd been passing to tell Max that he can skip his homework for the time being, overhears all this, and that the whole thing is Gail and David's fault. Daniel hightails it back to the flat and spills the beans on the David situation to Daisy, and he gives her a pan au chocolat. Mm-hmm. But not like that.
I'd like a pan au chocolat.
Do you know what, as I say it, I think, I could eat a pan au chocolat right now.
Yeah.
Do we have any pan au chocolat?
We don't. There's a French bakery in Lansing, though.
Oh, well, maybe. Let's go do that right now.
Yes.
Now they're over.
Well, we watch Brothic.
Jenny is chatting to Carla about how useless Johnny was down in the sewer. In comes Daisy, and Jenny immediately apologises. Never mind that, says Daisy. Wait till you hear what I fucking found out. Gail, David and Shona could have prevented this. Who's thrown Shona under the bus here? So Jenny and Carla go and pounce on David and Shona like a puma. They pounce on David and Shona.
No, like a pair of cougars.
Oh. And after Carla scares the bejesus out of David, he admits that the whole thing was probably avoidable. Carla can't believe it. Jenny thinks David as good as murdered Johnny. And David looks at Shona, and seemingly in a look that kind of blames her for all this.
Right, yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
And Shona rightly points out, wait a second, I saved your life. Why are you yelling at me? And also, it's not my house. And I had a brain injury.
Yeah, and
you can't blame any of this on me.
Right. Back at the Rovers, Jenny and Carla try to process this information. Ronnie comes in to offer his condolences. He's a bit awkward and leaves at the back. Well, or goes up to his room because he still lives at the Rovers.
Right, yes.
As Daisy confirms that she's moving back in. And in the Rovers, Sean is telling Carla that Johnny was a great boss, both liquor and Knicker. Sarah comes in to speak with her to apologise if they think that her family is to blame. She's going to help to pay to fix it with the money that she was going to use to buy into the factory, even though we don't even live there. Big fucking wow, says Carla. Aren't you the selfless saviour?
Right, and it's like, this is a house your own mother was living in. Wouldn't you have offered to help pay to fix that hole from the very beginning to protect your own mother?
Or even just put some pressure on somebody to take care of it.
Well, the whole thing, and I mean, I think we can blame the pandemic for this because it is ridiculous how long that hole sat there waiting to be filled. Mm-hmm. And how many people offered to help pay to fill that hole in, and then it just dropped off and nobody ever talked about it again. Right. Like the whole, Natasha being surprised that they hadn't gotten the hole filled in and everything when she was so uppity about it, getting fixed because of how much time Sam was spending there. And it's like, why?
I offered you the money. Why didn't you come to me?
Right. And it's like, we said we'd take the money. Why didn't you write a check and give us a check? It's just, the whole thing is just because, and the reason why is because they needed that hole still open for Super Soap Week.
Right. They're just trying to make it out as it's a comedy of manners.
Right. Yeah. And it doesn't work.
Not in Weatherfield.
No.
We kind of said this last week when we thought that sometimes the best part of Super Soap Week is what happens after Super Soap Week.
Yes.
So you have all the drama. Now you have people just
picking up the pieces.
Because the movie would have ended if it was a movie on Friday. So this, because it's continuing drama, this is what happens after the movie finishes. Mm-hmm. After Independence Day, after Rocky running up to the up the steps to the Philadelphia City Hall, what happens after that?
Well, we know what happens after that because that's like in the middle of the movie, isn't it?
But yeah, but then the montage finishes, and I always want to know, well, what happens then? Do the kids all just go, is that it? Do we
Yeah.
just go home now?
Yeah.
All right then, Rocky, we'll see you later then.
Bye, Rocky.
Rocky gets a bus back to his, there's elements there
You
that I'm
really
interested
wanted to
in.
see that?
I'm curious. So this is what happens after the sinkhole. What happens
Right.
after the escaped convict? This is Halloween 2, if you like. And I think it's what we want more, isn't it? It's the kind
Yeah.
of the human side of it and
Right.
the character side of it. And
Right. Absolutely.
what I really don't want though is Jenny just hitting the bottle because too many characters, whenever they have any kind of emotional or psychological or any kind of drama in their lives that is, you could say, is difficult to deal with, their first resort is to hit the bottle.
Well, that's true to life, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know that it is. I think people can deal with things in multitudes of ways
Yeah.
that not all of them require alcohol.
No. A lot of them do, though.
Well, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on all of it.
Oh, so on the Jenny side of it though, from Sinkhole Leo to Ronnie, I'm wondering if Sinkhole Leo is, because Sinkhole's in his name, does that remind him or remind her too much of Johnny's demise? Is it really Ronnie that's going to be her paramour after all this is settled?
Well, he'd have to dump Debbie first.
I think he'd do that in a flash, don't you?
I don't know. I did find it very interesting and kind of powerful the way that she, when Leo first comes in and she's kind of like, I don't really want to see you right now. And then when I have to organize this celebration of life, and Leo's like, oh, well, when does it start? I'll be there. And she's like, please don't be.
Right. She sees him as her betrayal of Johnny, which
Yes.
isn't really the case.
No, not at all, because Johnny's the one who left.
And Johnny gave his blessing, not
Right.
that it was needed
No, it wasn't.
to that relationship. So she should
Toxic
really be.
masculinity, man. It just,
The man's a hero.
he is not.
So next story today is Natasha. On Monday at the hospital, Natasha is hooked up to 1 million machines and still in a critical condition. The doctor reluctant to give any optimistic news to Nick. They'll be bringing her round later following a liver operation. She's been shot in the liver.
Yeah. Livers are always in danger on the street, aren't they?
Yeah. In the hotel, Leanne is leaving a message for Nick. She wants to tell Sam all about the Natasha situation just as Sam comes in. Leanne plays dumb when he starts asking questions about his mum, but he quickly distracts himself with facts about the rainfall during Super Soap Week. Nick gets back to the room. Sam wants to talk about climate change, but Nick has news about Natasha for him. She's in hospital after an accident. Sam seems pissed that Leanne knew this and didn't say anything. And then privately, Nick tells Leanne he just puts his head on her and she just strokes his hair. Simon shows up at the hospital and through his guilt he tells Sam that Natasha was shot because of him. Shot? That doesn't sound like an accident to me, says Sam. Leanne tries to take the blame for it, but Sam knows it's Harvey's fault. Maybe a bit of David's. Let's all stick together, he says. And later Nick comes back from a shite and Sam checks that he washed his hands. Nick confirms that he did. Potential moment of the week there. The doctor comes in to tell them that she needs more surgery. They can't stop the bleeding. Sam asks to see her before she goes to the theatre. So Sam goes to see Natasha and says goodbye to her by talking about different types of anaesthesia. Natasha's proud of her wee boy. It's always you and me against the world, she says. Outside, Sam is worried that he forgot to tell Natasha that he loves her, so he wants some cash from Nick to get some presents for her when she wakes up. None of this is a good sign.
Yeah.
Sam's got-
Grapes.
Right.
I don't understand the grape thing. That's not something that we do here.
Oh, it's always grapes in the UK.
I don't understand why, though.
Take someone who's sick a bunch of grapes. I think it's because you can just pick at it. There's nothing required. You just pick at the bunch. You don't have to peel anything.
Yeah, I suppose. They go bad fast, though.
Well, that's why you eat them. Sam's got quite a lot for his money and he's writing a card with us two against the world written in it. Later, Sam is worried about Nick getting deep vein thrombosis because he's not moving about enough. When the doctor comes in with some bad news, they did their best. They couldn't stop the bleeding. And Natasha's died. And I'm kind of angry at this.
I think lots of people are angry at this. Aadi got blown out of a car and is already out of the hospital and walking about, granted on painkillers.
She did get shot.
Kev, yeah, but in the liver. You can get a new one of them. Unless she had internal bleeding somewhere else as well, and that's what they're talking about. But still, it's infuriating that out of all of the people who could have died and may still have died, because let me remind you, nobody knows where Imran is still.
No.
And nobody seems to care.
No.
Not once does somebody say, where did Imran go?
We do learn, and maybe I come at this, I can't remember, but we do learn that Harvey has been reapprehended and is back in custody.
Right.
So he's not dead.
Yeah.
So the people
he may be dying, though.
So the people who
Harvey may die.
We're not given that impression. The fact that the term he's been reapprehended kind of makes it suggest.
Well, we know that he's been reapprehended because we saw
he
them.
hit his head a little bit. That's all that happened to him. He's fine.
Yeah, he should have flown out of that car because he didn't have a seatbelt on.
No, so the people that were losing from this is Johnny, who's kind of served
right. Yeah.
his time, and
Yes.
I think it was probably right for him to go.
Right. Yeah.
And Natasha, who was
A great character.
right.
Who had so much going for her, was going to buy the salon and be a bigger part of the community, was a single mom, so lots of potential for, pairing her up with all the single dads out there.
Mm-hmm. You just look at her and you just see the potential of that
there's
character.
so much potential in that character. And they just kill her off for Super Soap Week because she and Leanne were wearing the same Morticia costume. And for some reason, she went to their house. I still don't understand why she was there.
No, and she had a key, and
We knew she had a key.
Yeah, but we're not sure why.
Yeah. And Nick said, oh, no, you can keep the key. Remember when you said that was a foreboding sign?
Mm-hmm. And it was.
And it was.
Yeah.
It was a waste of a character, and we're very upset about it.
I've got a little bit more to say about that, but I'm going to wait until the end. At the hotel, Leanne and Nick are coming to terms with Natasha's death. She gets a call from the police letting them know that they can go back to the flat now. They both worry about how this is going to affect Sam. Nick remembers losing his dad at Sam's age and how it messed him up. Leanne points out that he's not in control of how Sam feels. Leanne has been a quiet word of wisdom in Nick's ear here, I think.
Absolutely.
So Sam comes in the room. He wants to go with Nick back to the flat, reminding him that they need to stick together now.
Yeah.
It's funny that Sam is the one that reminds everyone that this is the good thing to do here is to stick together.
Right. Well, I think he's kind of terrified that something's going to happen to Nick as well.
Back at the flat, Nick is in a hurry, but Sam has questions about where he found Mum and how the blood stain has been removed and the place stinks of bleach and the spot on the floor will always be a different colour now. Sam doesn't think that he wants to live here with the floor like that, and he wants to go see his mum.
Yeah. And it's like, if this wee 10-year-old boy knows how to properly clean a blood stain, you'd think that the professionals...
Probably Craig that done it.
No, because they have like there are special people that the police call in afterwards to
called Craig.
clean up the mess.
Nick isn't sure Sam wants that to be the last thing that he remembers of his mum, but Sam is sure, despite Leanne and Nick trying to talk him out of it.
Did we say that he wants to go see his mum?
Yeah.
His dead body?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was the end of the last paragraph.
Oh, sorry.
Nick
On drugs.
Nick isn't sure that Sam wants that to be the last thing that he remembers of his mum, but Sam is sure, despite Nick and Leanne trying to talk him out of it. So Sam asks again. He wants to go now. And Nick can't handle this, so sends him off with Leanne to get a milkshake. I don't want a milkshake. I want to go and see my mum.
Yeah.
Later at Roy's Rolls, Nick doesn't think he can continue to say no, and there's no way going back either. So if he says no now, then it becomes done. You can't say, you can't say yes. If he doesn't say yes now, he can't say yes later.
Right.
It's a yes or no now.
Yeah.
Leanne offers her support either way. Sam comes back from a shite and repeats his request to see his mum. Nick makes another push to put him off. Sam reminds Nick that it's not up to him, and he goes off, which is just typical Sam.
Yes.
Leanne shouts at Nick to go after him. Well, go after him then.
Yeah.
Toya catches the end of this.
Poor Nick just does not know what to do
Hasn't
this
got a
week.
clue.
He is just all thumbs.
And he thinks that she thinks Sam's seen Natasha is an awful idea. Leanne is struggling with this too, and the idea that she needs to be a mother to the wee boy is terrifying her.
Is this... Do children not go to open casket funerals in the United Kingdom?
No.
You never saw a dead body when you were a child?
No.
Never.
The
Not
first
once.
dead body I saw was my dad when I was 20-something.
It just
Oh, no,
blows...
it was my granddad when I was 17.
just blows my mind, that people think that this is a horrible idea. This is, and I think society at large is kind of like this now. I don't think it's just the United Kingdom that's like this now. I think fewer people, I think more people are a bit precious over here as well, as far as allowing children to see dead bodies when there are children the world over who are seeing their parents get blown up in front of them. We put our people away, behind closed doors when they're dying and they're dead. And I don't think it's a great idea. And I think Sam is absolutely within his rights. I saw lots of dead people when I was a kid, when older people in my family would die. And I turned out fine and have a healthy respect for death. Sorry to go on a rant, but it really bothered me this whole time that, people are like, oh, no, you can't see your mother's dead body.
Well, in the UK, to my understanding and my experience is, if you're not there the day of the death, you're not seeing them. You see them in the hospital or you see them at home where they have died. Mm-hmm. But after that, you don't see them again. Like my mum, she died. I saw her. The people that were there went and said goodbye. But after that, I never saw her body. And when the first dead relative of mine was my grand when I was 10, and I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral.
Yeah, see, that blows my mind too, because I was going to funerals when I was 10. Open casket funerals.
Yeah, I don't know if open casket is a thing in the UK. I don't think we want to see that.
Yeah.
I certainly haven't been to a funeral that had an open casket.
And I mean, I guess it's different when the person is going to be cremated and maybe hasn't been pumped full of the chemicals and stuff, so
maybe.
doesn't have that kind of sort of looking alive but really kind of off look to them. But I mean, I remember going to open casket funerals and and leaving like little pictures and things in the casket with my grandfather and stuff. I was an adult at that point because it was a picture of Nick as a baby with my granddad and stuff. So it's really interesting to see a different perspective on children and death and dying. And like I said, I mean, there are places in this world where people don't have a choice about whether or not they see someone die and somebody dead horribly.
Yeah, I think we want to shield people from that.
Yeah, and I don't know whether or not that's necessarily always a good thing to do, especially when people die relatively peacefully.
Right. So Nick tracks Sam down to the community garden. Sam explains how Natasha could just be in that London for all he knows, or just round the corner. He regrets not saying goodbye now because he knows he won't see her again, because he keeps forgetting that she's gone. That was just so powerful.
Yeah.
And this finally seems to work with Nick, and he agrees.
That reminded me of when the kid's Nana died, and Stelly texted her after we had told her that she was dead.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. It's, again, I think it's lovely, and I think it's really good that they're adding this different perspective on death, and death through a child's eyes. I think this was very well, I'm still mad that Natasha is dead, but I think this whole thing has been very well put together.
Right. So Sam and Nick go and look at an empty casket for a bit. Sam laments the opportunities missed to say I love you, the times he pulled away from her for a kiss because he hated her sticky strawberry lip gloss, and how he didn't dance enough with her. He's scared she thought that he didn't love her, and Nick reassures him that she knew that very well. Back at the hotel, Sam's locked himself in the toilet. Nick worries that he made a mistake by taking him to the undertaker's. He's a bad dad. Leanne sets him right, which is what Nick really wanted her to say. He's glad that they can do this together. And at the hotel room on Friday, Sam has been doing a shite for an hour now and ignores Nick when he knocks on the door. Nick is worried that he's broken Sam, but Leanne advises patience. He'll speak when he's ready. Nick goes to pick up some stuff, leaving a reluctant Leanne in charge.
I don't understand why Sam has locked himself in the bathroom and not in his own room.
Or was it his room? I don't know that
No, it
Asian
was-
would have a lock.
It was the bathroom.
That's what I thought.
Because you could see, like, when he comes out, you
mirror.
can see the towels in the mirror and the toilet. It's like you have your own room with a bed. Go in that room and lock the door.
Hours later, Sam's still in there, and when he finally comes out, he says, "I'd give that 5 minutes." He doesn't. Sam's not exactly
Sam
chatty.
says nothing.
And-
It's haunting.
Nick apologises for yesterday as Sam's eyes quietly fill with tears, and he heads off back into the toilet. Again, Leanne advises patients, let's get the funeral out of the way and see how things land in before you start worrying about therapy. And that's as far as we get with that this week. And the thing that I was going to say was about Natasha leaving that I've saved is if Jude Reardon couldn't act, we wouldn't be saying goodbye to Natasha.
That's a fair point.
If Jude was just a regular, and not meaning this disparagingly, just you get what you expect from a child actor. And
Right.
if that was all we were getting, is what we expect from a 10-year-old kid, Natasha would still be in the show. Because I think what we're doing now is we're giving him this very adult storyline.
Right. A
to
lot
deal
of
with
scenery to munch on.
because he can.
Yeah. It's a fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point. But still, he acted so well with her.
Right.
They were a great pairing. They played off one another really well. They had great chemistry and comedic timing with one another.
When they said it's the two of us against the world, you absolutely
You
believed
believe it. Yeah.
It's just such a really close relationship that a mother has with her only son when there's no father in the picture, and she becomes his world, and she has afforded him every opportunity and listened to every dull as mud fact that he's dug up from somewhere about something and encouraged him.
Right.
Just don't change to be somebody else. Be Sam,
Right.
and be the best
Sam
fucking
you
Sam
can
you can
be.
absolutely be. And that's the relationship that they had together. And it was lovely. And when you saw the two of them, it was just like, they were like an old couple together in an awful lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it worked brilliantly.
really did.
And I'm so sorry and disappointed that Natasha's going to be out of it.
And I think it's really unfair of the show to be pushing Leanne into this as well. And I think, and I saw that, lots of people were being quite nasty about this online and calling Leanne selfish and everything. She's still kind of recovering from burying her own son.
And will she ever recover from that?
And I think she's well within her rights to say privately to her sister, she's not saying this to Nick,
No.
and she's not saying this to Sam, that she's worried that she can't be a good mom to Sam. And I don't think Sam wants her to be his mom right now.
Nope.
He's still grieving his own mom.
Right.
So people need to back off Leanne. Back all the way off Leanne. Get all the way off her back.
Right. Moving on then, our next storyline this morning is Alahan and Son. On Monday at the Alahans, Dev is checking on Aadi, who ignores his offers of help. He just wants to go to bed and sleep. Dev looks to have a bit of a guilt on his shoulders about how this is all kind of worked out.
And Asha tries to help him too, and he especially doesn't want any help from her.
No, he barks at her.
And she's a snit to him. She is such a witch with a bee
A
to
bitch?
him.
Yeah.
I feel uncomfortable calling a child a bitch, Gav. Okay? She's still technically a child. A witch with a bee is fine. With the whole being. So, yeah. You should, Dev. You should feel a little bit of guilt around your shoulders.
Summer's come over and Aadi is just immersed in his own thoughts. He repeats to her how he was trapped in the burning car and Dev left him to die, despite the shouts for help. At this, in comes Dev with an amazing offer for Aadi. How would you like to be the assistant manager of my empire? Alahan and Son. Aadi is less than impressed. He'll think about it, and Dev's even gone to the trouble of drawing
Writing
up a contract.
I thought Aadi already was an assistant manager. Remember when he got a suit and was walking around giving performance
Evaluations to
Evelyn.
She swore too much.
And to Kathy and Bernie.
Yeah, he was already doing that.
He was already doing that.
And on their birthday,
was it just not official?
Dev gave the shop to both of them, or it was
Right.
DNA and A
Right.
Alahan.
Yeah.
Never mind your mum. We'll get rid of your mum from this. It's just the three of us now.
Yeah.
So Dev leaves and Summer is keen to help Aadi celebrate. This is a big deal after all. Aadi sees it as Dev's apology for leaving him to die.
It's blood money.
Yeah, Summer says that she's sure that that's not the case. It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Summer's left and Asha is winding Aadi up about being an assistant manager in a shitty corner shop. Aadi pretends to be chuffed and gladly accepts the offer. Dev is thrilled and orders a banquet of gargantuan proportions. To the future. I've still got one, says Aadi.
Yeah.
And nobody realises
Yeah,
what he's
and
saying.
Dev turns around and says, "What?" And Aadi's like, "Never mind."
Mm-hmm.
That happens a couple of times where he kind of mutters something under his breath and Dev says, "What?"
Yep.
And he says, "Never mind."
Right. And that's as far as we get with that this week. It's strange that there wasn't any more of that.
Yeah.
But I
And
was
again,
worried. I was worried about how this
How
was
is
going to
he
go.
out of the hospital already? He got blown out of a car. And why does he not have any burns on his body?
Well, all that Asha's got is a little band-aid on the
Side of her head.
on her eyebrow, like she's got her eyebrow pierced or something like that. Really weird. I was worried about how this was going to go, and it might still go this way, but at the moment, it feels like Aadi is angry, but he's not enact revenge angry.
It feels like living successfully is going to be his best revenge. I think he's going to milk Dev's guilt for all it's worth.
Oh, you think so?
Yes.
That might be worth seeing.
That sounds absolutely like something Aadi would do.
Right.
I think at first, he might have been looming towards revenge. But I think, in accepting the assistant manager position, he's kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna
Turn this into something.
get everything I can out of this.
Do you think he's very young to be doing this, but do you think he's going to steal all the businesses of his dad?
Eventually. In like 10 years.
That would be amazing. Because that would make him he'd become a bit of a Mike Baldwin.
This is the succession we really want.
Right. Fuck you, Brian Cox. Give me Jimmy.
At least Jimmy doesn't do McDonald's commercials.
Wow. That's a low blow.
It is, but it's true. I die a little every time I hear Brian Cox go, ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
It's almost as bad as his Mancunian accent in Frasier. Mersey Tart was talking about that this week. Again, he's not wrong.
No, he never is. Well, he rarely is.
So Dev's trying to make amends. You're right, I think there's a bit of Machiavellian
Yes.
machinations going on in young Aadi's head, because he's intelligent enough to pull this off.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah, everybody acts like Asha is a smart one, but Aadi is the one who really has the smarts here in like the cunning.
And you're right about when he was giving out appraisals and stuff. Mm-hmm. When you think, oh my God, he's giving an appraisal to Evelyn, what you doing, Dave? He's going to be killed.
Right, yeah.
But he didn't. He did a good job at it.
Yeah. And
He's more than capable.
He's more than capable. And he's charming and he's sweet when he wants to be.
Right.
Yeah. This is our future kingpin of Coronation Street.
Quite excited about this now.
Yeah.
Moving on, our next storyline is Homeless Stu Has a Rucksack For You.
I'm glad you went with Disco Stu and not Stewie from Family Guy.
Yeah. Disco Stu. On Wednesday, Nina speaks with Roy, worried that she's been letting down Asha recently. Well, there's no time like the present, says Roy, to go and do something about that. So Nina goes off to do that. Then Homeless Stu comes into Dev's looking for some super strength lager, nicking a few cans while Asha chats to Emma. Stu does a runner, but not before Asha spots the Weathy County bag that Stu claims is his because he found it in a river. Asha gives...
That bag does not look like it has been in the river.
No.
I'm sorry. You couldn't mess that bag up a little bit. That bag has been in the river and then living in a homeless man's tent for weeks, months.
He claims later that he fished it straight out, because
Right.
so I don't think it's been in the river for very long.
Yeah, but still, it should be a bit muddier than that. It looks like it's brand new off the rack.
It does look new. And there's a reason why it looks new.
So that you can see the WC.
Well, yeah, and because it is new. Asha gives chase, Nina joining in, but Homeless Stu jumps on a bus to freedom. Freedom! Asha explains that homeless Stu found the bag in the river and it must be ITV Corrie's and they'll probably have the tracksuit then. Nina seems to take a while to realise the significance of this. This could put ITV Corrie away for good. So Nina and Asha go to the police station, but unfortunately PC Tinker's working, so they see him and he's vague and useless, but arranges to have their statements taken. And apparently it's been no use whatsoever. Back in the street, Asha and Nina happen upon Summer and then Billy. Asha shows them a CCTV image of homeless Stu from the shop earlier. That's homeless Stu, says Billy. And he hangs out at the soup kitchen. Asha and Nina make their excuses and promise to help out at the soup kitchen later. So they go there, and Asha's sure that this is going to help them get justice.
And they lie to Billy. They say, oh, well, I overcharged him.
Yeah.
I think I may have overcharged him and I feel bad. Why would they not be honest with Billy? We think he has. Because I think Billy would have had a bit more urgency than, oh, well, maybe you'll see him at the soup kitchen later if he knew the truth.
Right. Maybe he can't handle the truth.
Have we done that one yet?
I think so. At the soup kitchen, Asha is sure that this is going to get them justice. And if he doesn't show up today, well, we'll just keep on coming back until he does. And Asha, at this point, is saying all the right things to make Nina happy. And Nina doesn't really seem to notice that that's what's happening.
I think she kind of notices. And I think Roy was really funny at the beginning of all this when, Nina's like, well, maybe, I feel like I may have let her down. Maybe I should go and see her. But I don't think she's going to want to see me. And Roy's like, I have a feeling Asha will always want to see you.
That's true.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I know nothing about relationships.
Right. So homeless Stu actually shows up in the next scene, but he doesn't go and get soup. Instead, he sits round the corner away from Asha and Nina and hears them talk about the rucksack and how important it is so they can get ITV Corrie sent down.
Conveniently, this man who's coming to get an empty soup container of soup because he's homeless and cannot get food on his own instead sits behind the soup kitchen conveniently. So
homeless Stu must get right on the internet to find out where ITV Corrie is going to be, and he finds him walking home, and homeless Stu falls off at the back of him. Gives a tenner, you scumbag, says homeless Stu. You what, says ITV Corrie. So homeless Stu sings a wee song to him. Corrie Brent is a gent. He's not a murderer after all, sings homeless Stu. How interested do you think the cops would be in your bag, he says. He says that he saw ITV Corrie throw it in the river and he fished it straight out. You can have your bag for a price. So ITV Corrie kills homeless Stu. On Friday,
I think homeless Stu could have given Corrie a run for his money.
Kicked the shit out of him.
I would have liked to have seen it.
So on Friday, Asha comes into Roy's Rolls to chat Nina into resuming their search for homeless Stu at the soup kitchen. Sean, who's in for a bacon butty, overhears and offers his help from his Rolodex of homeless contacts.
Yes. I was homeless once. I can help this situation. I am not useless. Completely.
Just to throw this in for no reason whatsoever, Johnny died last week and Natasha died this week. So,
you know what was funny? And I know this was like a couple of storylines ago when Sean was talking, and I meant to say something, but anyway, when Sean was talking to Carla and he calls her Mrs. B, I had to sit and think about that for a second about why is he calling her Mrs. B? Because Connor starts with a C.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, that's right. She and Peter got married, didn't they?
Yep. Well, so the legend goes.
I'd forgotten all about that.
Meanwhile, ITV Corrie is meeting up with homeless Stu, who has changed his mind. He wanted 100 quid for it. Come on, homeless Stu, aim a bit higher than that. Now he wants 500. ITV Corrie is about to lose his shit until homeless Stu points out that the CCTV cameras are right behind him. Yeah. ITV Corrie's wearing his black baseball cap and pulls it down a little bit too late to be doing things like that.
Right, yeah. Homeless Stu is not an idiot.
No, he kind of knows how things work, right?
Yeah.
So ITV Corrie is forced to agree to these new terms. Nina is still unsure, so Asha forces her to sing a song every time she's been negative. It becomes quite annoying. In comes homeless Dudley, a friend of Sean, and there to help. Asha shows the photo, but Dudley isn't sure, although there is a homeless colony at the river now. Nina and Asha are buoyed by this because that's where the bag would have been thrown away. So at the colony, Nina and Asha are guided to homeless Stu's tent, but he's out on business at the moment. They hang around waiting for him, but Nina loses patience and goes uninvited into homeless Stu's tent, and that was looking for the rucksack.
That whole thing was awful, and it
gets worse.
Yeah, you would. Yeah, Yeah, because then she starts making comments about she didn't realize that homeless people could be hoarders.
Of course they are.
Which
That's
is-
exactly what they do.
Which is so awful. Which is such an awful thing to say.
Every single thing that they have becomes precious.
Right.
So of
because
course
they
they
have
hoard
so
things.
little.
Right.
And they have so little area to put them in.
She's very disrespectful to
I know.
homeless
And
Stu's belongings.
it just does not fit with her character.
Homeless Dudley catches them in the act and tells them to sling their fucking hooks before the other homeless people turn on them.
Right. Yeah. And correctly says to her, you wouldn't just go barging into somebody else's house, would you?
Right.
This is Stu's house. This is Stu's house.
And
This
she's
is-
just throwing things about.
I know. Yeah. She just goes right in and starts throwing stuff about, mucking things up.
It was awful.
It was very, very awful and inconsiderate. I lost a little respect for Nina that day.
Anyway, Nina curses her impatience, but on their way back into town, they spot homeless Stu after all and decide to follow him from a safe distance. The followed becomes the follower. Or the other way around. The follower becomes the followed. Homeless Stu quickly realises that he's been followed and recognises Asha. He doesn't have the bag and he reacts quite threateningly when Asha calls him a liar. Nina, though, isn't scared. She's been through more than this. She's seen where he lives and she's not going anywhere until he's heard him out. So she explains about Seb, but homeless Stu doesn't want to get involved. You're already involved, barks Asha. Nina draws comparisons between her getting beaten up and Stu getting hassled for being homeless, like people breaking into his tent and that, you mean. Mm-hmm. This begins to melt homeless Stu, but he insists that he can't help and he walks away.
Yeah, and, people like Corrie will always win over people like us.
Right. So ITV Corrie goes to meet him on the back street. Cash up, says homeless Stu, who wasn't born yesterday. ITV Corrie hands it over. Well, he actually throws it at Stu.
Right, yeah, and it lands on the ground.
And he tells him where the bag is. It's in a bin over there, and he hightails it. So ITV Corrie gets the bag, but his clothes are missing from it. Oh, they weren't part of the deal.
No, just the bag.
Just the bag. So homeless Stu goes to Dev's where Nina and Ash are hanging out and hands over a plastic bag full of ITV Corrie's bloody clothes, explaining that he sold the bag to ITV Corrie. He managed to get himself some cash out of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Help yourself to a few tins, says Asha.
And I'm very concerned about those clothes being in a plastic bag because I've listened to a murder podcast or two in my lifetime, so I know that plastic breaks down blood and DNA quite quickly. So it's not the best thing for it to be put in. They put stuff in bags at the scene, but then they take them and they put them in cardboard boxes at the station, So I'm just hopeful that the show doesn't know this. So the cops will.
It probably does know it, but does it want it to be important?
Right. Yeah.
Back at ITV Stefan Towers, ITV Corrie has to explain that he's got the bag, but the clothes are missing. ITV Stefan doesn't want to hear ITV Corrie explain the significance of this and can't believe that ITV Corrie didn't check to see if homeless Stu had even seen the clothes. He sets out in his car to find the clothes before the police do. Where's he going? Where's he even going to start?
Is he going to? Does he know where the homeless encampment down by the river is?
I don't
Has he
think
been
so.
selling the magazines?
Well, maybe. It was quite telling that ITV Stefan just didn't even want to hear ITV Corrie finish the sentence.
Right. Yeah. Because he doesn't want to know that his son actually did murder somebody. He knows.
He knows it, but doesn't want to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nina and Asha are at the police station speaking to someone who knows a bit more about what they're doing than PC Tinker.
Yeah.
Apparently the clothes aren't the be-all and the end-all, though, and they're going to have to assess whether this is enough evidence to reopen the inquiry. It's all about the forensics, but keep stum for now. If these do prove to be important, we don't want ITV Corrie getting the wind of it.
Yeah. A little late, but...
So
which you'd think that they would have pointed out to the police officer. Well,
He
he's
probably knows.
already knows because the homeless guy sold his bag back to him.
In the community garden, Asha and Nina agree that not telling Abby yet is probably for the best. Asha thinks Seb would be proud of Nina. Nina has enjoyed being with Asha this time and has decided that she wants to give the relationship another go. Belter, says Asha.
Yeah, Asha is very excited about this.
Yeah. And, well, she says the right things here. She says, I don't want to be...
pushing you into something.
Right. And also, I don't want to be hurt. Mm-hmm. So don't be saying anything that you don't actually mean. And Nina's very insistent that she does mean everything that she's saying here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was quite exciting.
Yeah.
It was nice to see homeless Stu come round.
Yes.
He seemed like quite a wee comedy character when he was going in to get his free curry at Speed Dial, but
Right.
he always got a temper on him, hasn't he?
Well, you probably would be too if you were living in a tent down by the river.
Probably.
Yes. You don't even like to go camping.
No. No, I would do very badly in that situation.
You would. It's funny, though, to see that he actually has a tent and everything, because when we saw him during Super Soap Week, he was sleeping behind a wall with...
Naginal.
Yeah. And it's like, why was he sleeping there in the rain when he had a tent?
Too much super strength lager, probably.
I don't think that's a fair assumption.
Well, we see him trying to nick it.
Well, yeah. Maybe he's going to sell it, though. To somebody else.
It's not going to sell it. I wonder where he charges his phone.
Yeah, I was surprised he had a phone.
But
I mean, not to just assume that homeless people don't have phones. But
no,
still.
I don't think it's impossible.
No.
But yeah, good stuff. Moving on then to our next storyline, which is Emma's harebrained scheme. On Wednesday, Emma is burning dinner like a woman when Curtis comes home. Emma is wearing a face mask and wanted to make him a tart to celebrate how heroic he was the other day when he was trying to save Harvey, the convicted criminal. She goes to get him a face mask too, and later with Curtis in the face mask, Emma realises why he wanted to be a doctor. It's because helping other people makes him feel useful. That's great. Talking of which, Curtis gets up to put in more hours helping out at the hospital, and Emma begins to worry that he's taking on too much. And that brings us on to this week's hard debate. We saw more of Curtis last night, but how well is the new drop dead any minute medical student bedding in? Too early to tell? No cares to give? He's rocking my world? Or is he the fish guy?
I think I voted, is he the fish guy?
Thank you. I wanted that one to do well. That we don't even know who he is. Okay, the voting was thus. He's rocking my world and is he fish guy both got 12.5%. Too early to tell was 26.6%. And no cares to give, which we could easily translate to not a solitary fuck to give about this, 48.4%.
Yeah. It's telling that is he fish guy and he's rocking my world got the same amount of votes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. I care because I care about Emma. But the fact that...
It's making her miserable.
Right. It's making her miserable. And also, the fact that they don't have a specific diagnosis for him, I think, really hurts the story. Mm-hmm. If we had something specific to cling on to, rather than, oh, there's something wrong with my heart and nobody knows what it is and I have to take lots of pills. That doesn't give an awful lot for you to hang your hat on.
Nope. On Friday at the flat, Curtis is taking his million pills for the day and he runs his hands through his hair and out comes a big clump that he tries to disguise from Emma.
As a spider.
It's a side effect.
Because she's a woman, so she'd be scared of a spider.
Or try to cook it. It's a side effect from his medication and being tired. Emma is really worried because Curtis's hair is the only interesting thing about him. No chuckles for that? Okay.
Every time I chuckle, I cough, so I'm being very...
That joke worked well with the
stingy.
focus group, that's all I'm saying.
I'm being very stingy with my laughs this week.
At the Rover, Emma explains her concerns to Steve and the apparent amount of money it'll cost to get a private consultant. Steve knows all too well about that from the Oliver storyline, which gives Emma an idea. Can she borrow from Oliver's fund? Steve points out the ethics of what she's asking here. That money was specifically donated for Oliver, not Curtis's hair problems. Plus, it's
for
probably illegal.
Mitochondrial research.
Emma is crushed by this.
But not as crushed as Rana.
As Rana. So Curtis gets home to the flat.
I think that's the first time I've done the Rana joke.
Curtis gets home to the flat. He's still hairy. Emma remains down in the dumps as Curtis wants to focus on the present, and it seems that Emma is far more upset by all of this than Curtis is. And that's as far as we get with that this week. Yeah, I'm finding it desperately hard to give anything like a shit about this.
I thought it was very cute, him in the face mask. I did like that.
That's not enough. That's not enough.
I thought that was cute and endearing. I think it would have been more cute if he'd been really up for for it, when she said, "Oh, I know, I'll do you a face mask too."
And paint his toenails or something
Right,
like that.
yeah. Or if we saw her actually, and I know COVID, if we saw her actually putting the face mask on him.
Well, we see some scenes this week that obviously the restrictions have been lifted or
Right.
people are bubbling. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But obviously not for Curtis. I'm shocked that a hospital is allowing him to work, with patients during COVID.
Yeah.
When he has this disease that could make him drop at any second.
Do we think he is?
You think that would be a liability?
Do we think that's where the interest lies in this, that he's lying about everything?
I don't think he's lying because he's taking lots of pills, and we've seen him in the hospital, and we've seen his support group, and we've seen his doctors. He's not lying about this.
Damn it. He really is that dull.
It's nice to look at, I guess.
Yeah. And I keep on going back to this. He's a guy who's desperately good looking and doesn't realise that he's desperately good looking. Normally is a bad one. Mm-hmm. Or has some other secrets to hide.
Right. And his secret is he's dying.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we'll thank this storyline for a boring moment of the week at some point. Moving on to Curry Wars on Friday. At Speed Dial, Alia is worried about Ryan after the whole Coronation stuff. So Zeedan tells her to go see him if she cares that much about it. Take your time, he says. I've got lots of money to launder anyway. Zeedan meets up with his father-in-law in the Alleyway of Doom. Zeedan is informed of a consultancy company to send a cheque to, and then is given 50 quid more to launder. Find a way or I'll beat the shit out of you, says Hashim.
It's 50,000 quid, isn't it?
Yeah, but they only say 50, and that amused me that he's trying to just launder basically one £50 note. I'll beat the shit out of you, says Hashim, and then he walks straight into the camera. So Alia has a cuppa with Ryan. He's in a state about Johnny and how Jenny is...
When did this happen?
Right.
Like all of a sudden, Ryan's just losing it over Johnny when, he was dancing on Monday.
That's true. Yeah, maybe he suddenly remembered that was a bit inappropriate.
Right, and that Johnny was kind of family?
Mm-hmm. He's lost all his gear.
I can never remember which one of Michelle's sons was actually her son.
Ali.
Was it Ali? The one who's no longer in the show?
Yes.
Are we sure about that? But Ryan was the one that she raised.
Yes.
God, that was a confusing storyline. Mm-hmm. I'm glad Michelle's gone.
Well, sure. Just because.
Right, because we're not reminded of this confusing storyline.
Yeah, she was a terrible character, as was Kate. So,
both of them will probably come back.
Oh, at some point, and then I can tear into them again.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that.
Do you think they'll bring Kate back for the funeral?
No. I'd be amazed if they do. So yeah, he's in a state about Johnny. And
they brought Claudia back for Norris. And just for Norris, and now she's gone again.
Yeah, well, she was maybe not doing anything else. So anyway, let me get through this sentence. So Jenny...
No. See, this is funny.
He's in a state about Johnny. Well, that other line was funny. He's in a state about Johnny and Jenny and Holly's gear being wrecked, so he doesn't know where he goes from here. She offers encouragement and his job at Speed Dial back, and he's really touched by this. Mm-hmm. He's kind of filling up a little bit, and we see the motions of these two moving back together.
This is another couple that's getting back together,
and I'm all
we're
for
happy.
that.
We're happy about this.
Back at Speed Dial, Zeedan is acting shiftily as he sticks Hashim's £50 note in the register. Alia doesn't notice anything amiss. So Zeedan is having so much problems with this, he meets Hashim back in the alleyway. Hashim, who always seems to be there.
Right, yeah. Doesn't he live over an hour away?
Let's hope so, because otherwise there's no reason why we haven't been seeing Zeedan all this time.
Right.
So they meet him back in the alleyway, explaining that he can't launder that much money without his family or the tax man finding out. Well, just figure it out, says Hashim. And then a passing Ryan overhears this and asks Zeedan what that was all about when Hashim leaves. Mind your own beeswax, says Zeedan, and that's as far as we get with that. At this point, I'm thinking that Hashim actually actively wants Zeedan to fail at this.
Of course he does. Of course he does. There's no other reason for him to be doing this, because I'm sure he has lots of other avenues to launder his money with.
Yep. Can he possibly be in the frame for any of this if it all goes tits up? Hashim, that is.
Yeah.
What's the risk for him doing this? There has to be some kind of risk.
I don't know.
That if Zeedan went to the cops, which is probably what he should be doing.
Right. But he's not going to, because he has been actively laundering this money. So he will get in trouble, and then his gran and sister will get in trouble as well, because there's no way that they were unaware of all of this stuff happening.
How long do you think that wee seller Pakistani street restaurant would take to turn over 50 grand?
No idea. Especially in this economy with COVID and stuff. Yeah, probably.
I think if they're pulling in a grand a day, they're doing very well.
Oh, surely more than a grand a day.
Well,
I don't think they'd be able to afford to pay any of their staff if they were only pulling in a grand a day.
50 covers at 20 quid each.
I'm sure it's more than that.
Let's say it's 2 grand a day. That's still a month's worth of business that Zeedan's been asked to launder over a weekend.
Well, does it? No, Hashim says he's got a month, doesn't he?
Does he?
I think
I
so.
didn't hear that. Anyway, I think Hashim definitely just wants to see Zeedan get absolutely fucked over this.
Yes.
It was funny when he walked in at the camera, though. It was a strange shot.
It was a strange shot.
Everything went out of focus.
I have a feeling he wasn't meant to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a feeling that he walked in the wrong direction and they just left it in.
If anybody knows, please tell us.
Yeah.
I'd love to know that. Our final storyline this morning is Weatherfield gun rentals. On Monday,
Floating gun rental.
Weatherfield floating gun rentals. There you go. It's now the title of this story. On Monday, Abby, Kev and Jack get home. Jack's got a text from Liam telling him about Natasha. All this has made Jack scared to go off to holiday club. Fuck you, you're going, says Kev.
I paid for it already. Such a Kev thing to say.
So Kev and Abby are in Roy's Rolls getting the lowdown on Natasha, who was shot by Harvey in a case of mistaken identity, and Kev thought Harvey was inside, and when he's told that Harvey escaped, he starts to put 2 and 2 together and realises that this was the person who must have knocked him out. I could have been shot, because it's all about Kev.
Right, yeah. And they rightly point out, well, if he had a gun when he knocked you out, he would have shot you.
Yeah.
Which I don't necessarily...
I would have shot you, says Shona.
Which I don't necessarily think is true, because Harvey doesn't want a murder. If he's going to murder somebody, if he's going to get sent down again for murder, he wants it to be the person that he's getting revenge on.
Yeah, he doesn't want to just kill anybody.
Right, yeah.
He has a list.
Right.
He's making it twice. So Roy is sitting mournfully in the community garden when Abby comes along. He wonders if Harvey managed to get his hands on her gun. No, says Abby. It must have been a different gun. And Roy wishes that he'd done more to help.
Right, and Roy and other people in this storyline seem incredulous that there would be 2 guns on the street on the same night.
We just get to this.
And while that may or may not be true, I don't think it's that incredulous to think that some drug gangster has, caches of
Firearms.
guns and firearms hidden away between, the road where he got into an accident and Weatherfield.
I think it's a sad indictment on the show at times to say that it's not beyond the realms of credibility to think that there are 2 guns in the show at the same time.
Right. Yeah.
How I wish that wasn't the case. Because on Friday, Abby runs into Roy and gives her wedding invitations for him and Nina. They've decided to use the wedding as a marker to draw the line on the past. Roy thinks this is a capital idea, and Abby runs off just as Tez appears around the corner. And Abby's at home when there's a very insistent knocking at the door. It's Tez. He's wanting his gun back. She didn't realise it was a loner and tells him that she chucked it in the canal. He isn't buying it. Try the truth this time, because he realises that her lip does something when she's lying, apparently. She tells him it's gone missing and then gives him the full story.
Right. Why doesn't she just do that in the first place? Why does she lie to him initially and say that she chucked it in the canal when either way, the story is that it's in the canal somewhere?
As far as she knows.
Right. Again, a case of it's just a lot easier just to tell the truth, and lying does nothing to help the storyline.
Right.
It just makes it longer.
So Tez is worried. That gun has more history than the British Museum. Oh, a very cultural reference there from our Tez. Abby is now sure that he's in the clear. That gun will have floated into the North Sea by now, she says. Tez, though, knows about Natasha. What are the chances of 2 guns showing up at the same time? This is Weatherfield, not Compton. Listen to him, producers of Coronation Street. This is Weatherfield, not Compton.
Right. Of course, in Compton, there's more than 2 guns.
Right.
In any city in America, there are more than 2 guns.
There's more than 2 guns in the street.
Yes.
One of them's next door.
Yeah. None of them are in this house.
No. But that isn't any invitation to folk.
No.
We've got a very licky dog in the house. He'll take care of you.
Right. And we do have a BB gun.
Right. That's jammed. He leaves as Kev comes in, angry that Tess has been in the house. So Abby makes up an excuse. It's something about her dead son, which makes it an even worse lie that she's using Seb as her lie to cover why Tess is here. That becomes a...
Right. And that he's blaming her for Seb's death. And, you know, people always blame her for everything. And it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
I think that would prey on your conscience a little bit.
I think Abby has so much on her conscience in her short life that
true.
this is just a drop in the bucket.
At home, Abby wonders why Jack has been so quiet. It turns out Kev has been telling him about Tess. What are you doing,
Why?
Kev? What the fuck are you doing?
Why would you tell this boy?
He told you on Monday how
Scared
scared
he
he
was.
is. He doesn't even want to go on vacation.
Kev is not just a bad partner. He's also a bad father.
He's just a terrible person.
He really is.
Abby deflects Jack's questions with the offer of ice cream, going out to get some ice cream. So Abby goes to get her jacket, and we see that it was Jack what found Abby's note.
Right, yeah. He freaks out a little bit when she goes to pick up his coat. Mm-hmm. And that's when we know.
Right, and then he takes it out. And...
Right, yeah. Which, I'm sorry, Jack not only takes a note that clearly has his father's name on it.
It's in an envelope, remember?
But opens the envelope and takes it out.
Right.
This is not something that this particular child would ever in a million years do.
No, if Kev had died, maybe.
Maybe, but he didn't.
No.
This is so against this child's character to just do.
And what's he going to do with this knowledge?
Right, and why would he want it? Why would he even think to pick something like this up?
It's Abby basically confessing that she's going off to kill Corrie.
Yeah.
That she didn't do.
Right.
So it's like leaving a note to say I'm away down the shops, and then you don't go down the shops.
Right.
It's maybe a little bit more than that, but
right, yeah,
like,
but still, this is not something that Jack would have done. Is like the sticking point of this whole thing. And what is he going to do with it? Is he going to give it to his dad? Is he going to give it to Abby? Is he just going to throw it away and then somebody else finds it?
right, and that's what my question was. It's like, what does this do to the story by making Jack? Because it never once crossed my mind that, despite the fact that the only other person that has access to this house
Right.
is Jack.
Would either have been
It never
Jack
crossed my
or
mind.
Debbie, but if Debbie had found it, she would have already confronted Abby about it.
Would it make more sense for Debbie to have found it? Probably, but I don't think she would have opened the envelope either.
No.
Because nobody knows the weight of the content of
Right.
it.
Just says Kevin on the front.
That's bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how we end this week's episodes.
Ugh.
So,
So much good stuff happens this week that I hate that this is how we end this week's episode.
yeah, it was really disappointing, especially because we could have ended with Nina and Asha getting back together again.
Right.
And that would have kind of finished the aftermath of disaster on something of an optimistic note. Mm-hmm. You know, that
Alia.
arguably would have been a nice...
Alia essentially forgiving Ryan and inviting him back to work at Speed Doll, which sets up them getting back together.
I don't think that's the end of an episode or the end of a week material, but there was bits in it this week that could have given you
would have
more
given you a
positive...
happy, uplifting note and also set up next week.
Right. This does set up next week, but it's a kind of quizzical,
Right.
probably bad thing to happen.
Right. That would have never happened in a million years
Hmm.
because it's so anti this character.
But I think you're right. And what we expected to happen this week has proved to be true, that through the kind of nonsense of Super Soap Week, or Super Soak Week, as I was starting to call it.
Ha 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 ha.
Anyway. Through all that, it did produce some good drama this week. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed Asha and Nina being the little detectives. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed Sam's performances, although it wasn't exactly uplifting, but it was very moving. There was plenty that was going on this week that kind of takes the taste of last week out the mouth a little bit.
Right. We're back to character-driven story.
Yeah, and not trying to set up plot-driven.
Right.
Which was happening for the last 2 or 3 weeks before Super Soap Week.
Correct. Some of which turned out to be red herrings.
Right.
Because Gail's never moving back into that house.
No, and Audrey still is driving about in her Mr. Magoo glasses.
Right.
Crashing into everything.
Only now
that
she's
moves.
driving about like that in that London.
The streets are a little bit busier.
Wee bit. And there are more roundabouts. And busier roundabouts.
In London?
Yeah,
There's a
because
lot
there's that famous one that gets used in movies all the time. What's that one?
The Arc de Triomphe in Paris?
No.
Oh,
The
Big
one in
Ben
London.
Parliament. The
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
the one from European Vacation is the one that you're referencing.
It was also used in a James Bond movie, wasn't it?
Oh, the heady heights of the references. National Lampoon's European Vacation.
It's been used in other movies than that.
Which also starred Anthony Michael Hall. Oh, who I haven't mentioned in this podcast.
No, that was the other podcast
He was in
because he was Halloween Kills.
Right. That was the week that was Coronation Street.
It was.
What was your moment of the week?
Natasha and Sam, us against the world.
You think that rather than
Yes.
Jude's little soliloquy?
Yes, because this is the last time we'll ever be able to give it to Natasha, and Natasha deserved better.
Yeah, fair enough. I will go with that. That is our...
Moment of the week.
Moment of the week.
So which part of the Curtis storyline is our boring moment of the week?
I would say Hashim walking into the camera. Or just Hashim meeting Zeedan in the wee tunnel thing.
Like seven times in 2 episodes.
Right. That was incredibly boring and redundant.
Oh well, Curtis, you're off the hook. Hashim, well, if it's not boring, maybe can I get it higher?
Yeah, because basically they have the same conversation twice.
They do.
It's just that the second one is so Ryan can overhear.
Right.
There's a lot of overhearing this week.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's our...
Boring moment of the week.
Boring moment of the week.
Okay, let's finish this up so you can go back to your bed. If noticing your hair is falling out happened deep in your distant past, I hear you. Send supportive messages to us via
All you need
email.
is a vitamin D supplement and you'll be fine.
We're at talkingstreet@gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can shout me and Helen a coffee by heading to ko-fi.com/thetalkofthestreet. Check out the clicky section of voggle.co.uk for links to our merch store and YouTube channel. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. Thanks for making it to the end of another episode. We will be back next week with more The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.